I was just thinking today, all the silly propaganda that we're flooded with, and how many people know that H&R Block, the tax man H&R Block?
Yes.
Well, H&R Block, the old man himself, uh, I remember many years ago, people don't remember this, but years ago, I remember H&R Block, the old man himself, was found guilty of tax evasion and I think went to prison. And I just thought that's interesting. H&R Block tax man, yeah, well, he went to jail for tax evasion.
I think that fits the definition of the word ironic.
Yeah. And then the Marlboro man, remember the big he-man, big macho Marlboro man?
Yeah, on the advertisements for the cigarettes.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, he died of lung cancer, and he only weighed about 60 pounds when he died from lung cancer.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Superman. Well, the first Superman committed suicide, and the second Superman, the young, can't remember his name, Steve Reeves, I guess it was, something like that. The second Superman, he broke his neck and was an invalid for all his life.
Oh, Christopher Reeves?
Christopher Reeves. Yeah, broke his neck and was done for. Anybody who plays Superman in Hollywood, there seems to be some kind of an occult curse on that person playing Superman. And the first one, as I said, committed suicide, and his name was Reeves also. I think that's interesting. The first Superman's last name was Reeves. The second Superman last name was Reeves. The first one committed suicide, and the other one just about killed himself, broke his neck, and H&R Block went to prison, and and Marlboro Man dies of lung cancer, and the Fast and Furious star died just recently, going fast and furious. So I just think that's interesting. Fast and Furious. Well, he's dead. Going fast and furious. It's almost as if God plays tricks on the human race. You want to be out there pompous, Marlboro Man? Yeah, well, you're going to die of lung cancer. You want to be out there as the world's foremost tax man? Yeah, well, your ass is going to prison. So every time you got somebody out there pompous and arrogant who's the main star of something, it's almost as if the universe pulls a rug out from underneath of them. I just think that's interesting and funny. There's a lot more cases like that. And yeah. I mean, we got some chumps that think they own me and they own my name, they own my work, and they own everything. Well, they're going to find out there's a God that's in charge of the universe, not them. They're just trailer trash and white trailer trash, and what do they call them? Gypsies from the Czech Republic. The gypsies from Czech Republic with the ponytail, who's going to lead the world in spiritual awakening. Yeah, well, we'll see. Where they're going, where the kids going, they don't need spiritual awakening. So. Anyway, there's so many things I'd like to talk about in relation to my work. But I got started last night, maybe a little bit before that, on some of the people who have, like the Fritz Springmeyers and the Chris Whites and John Rappaports and all that bunch. I want to talk about a couple more people tonight because I got quite a few people I want to expose the crap out of. And tonight I think I'd like to talk about Dr. Joan Priestley and another doctor named Carl Howard. Dr. Carl, C-A-R-L, Howard, H-O-W-A-R-D. Dr. Carl Howard is a chiropractor in North Hollywood. His office is on the corner of Vineland and Riverside Drive in the city of North Hollywood. Chiropractor, Dr. Carl Howard. Uh, I knew Dr. Carl Howard. I went to him a couple of times as a chiropractor. And one day I was there in his office on the corner of Riverside Drive in Vineland, North Hollywood. Half of it burned down. I happened to see the fire engines out there one night and stopped, and there was a huge fire in Dr. Carl Howard's office. And half of his place didn't burn down to the ground, but it was pretty badly damaged by a fire. And the word was out there on the street, the fire department and other people I was talking to, they were saying there was some kind of a bad blood. The doctor had screwed over somebody or did something, some kind of a bad situation the doctor had done to somebody, and they came back to burn this building down. And that was what the detectives and the people out there on the street with the fire department were telling me. And I thought that was, what would Dr. Carl Howard do that somebody would burn his building down? Well, I found out later. I found out why. So a couple of days later, I went by and Dr. Carl Howard was there. And I was working in construction part-time at the time. And he asked me if I would be interested to work on his building because he knew what I was doing. I was a contractor and doing construction at the time. This was quite a few years ago, and he said, "Then if you I could give you a job rebuilding my office, and if you wanted the job." And so I told him, "Yeah, I would be interested." And so I went back the next day to sit down with the doctor, and I went there at lunchtime, and he had 3 other doctors working with him in the building. All 4 of them were chiropractors. And so he sat there, and we sat there at lunchtime, the 4 doctors and myself, and Dr. Carl Howard presented to me a concept and an idea for a job. And he said, "Here's what I'd like to do. First of all, how much does a journeyman, professional journeyman, make in construction and what you're doing?" And I told him, I think it's about $21 an hour at that time. This is a few years back. I said, "It's $21 an hour." So he said, "I'll tell you what, here's the deal I'll offer you. If you will work on my office and rebuild my office, time and material, T&M, I'll just pay you by the hour for your time, and I'll pay for the materials, and you just work on my office until it's all done." And he said, "Here's the deal. I will pay you minimum wage," which is, I think, was like $5.50, $5 an hour, something like that. He said, "I'll pay you minimum wage for your hours. And when you're all through with the job, you keep track of what you've done each day and the hours that you spent each day. And when you're totally through with the job, of course, each week, I will pay you for your hours, minimum wage for your hours. And then at the end of the job, you bring all of your paperwork in with all of your hours from day one, and we'll add them all up, and then I'll give you the other $15 an hour for each hour, so that this way you will have a real nest egg of cash. And while you're working on my office," he said, "while you're working on my office, I'll give you one of my offices upstairs for free. You can just have it." So there's quite a few offices that need to be worked on and the superstructure of the building and all that. But he said, "But I'll give you one of my offices for free that you can just stay here and have an office. And I know that you don't have any money and you'd like to have an office. So I'll give you the office for free. You can work on it yourself while you're working on my building. And then at the end of the job, we'll count up all of your hours and I will pay you journeyman wages. But every week I'll pay you just minimum wage. And at the end of the job, you'll have one fat check and an office for free." So what do you think? And I said, I'll take it. Sounds good to me. So I worked on his office on the corner of Riverside Drive and Vineland for a little over a year, about a year and 1 month, 13 months, and completely remodeled his office pretty much on my own. Of course, I had other contractors coming in and doing different work. And so, but I was working continually. And at the same time, on weekends, when I wasn't working on the office for him, I was working on the one office that I was going to take, that he was going to give me. So I was doing extra work on my office, painting it the way I wanted it and putting it in the carpet and paying for it all myself. Because I figured when I'm finally through with the whole building, I will also have a very nice office of my own, and I'll have a nest egg of money, and then I will finally have an office and some money, and I'll be able to do what I want to do. So at the end of the job, after 13 months of working, and at the same time, I need to tell you that when I was making this deal, when this deal was being presented to me at lunchtime, the three other doctors were there in the office at the same time. So there was 4 doctors and myself. Dr. Carl Howard, myself, and his other 3 doctors, and all 4 of the doctors were in the main office upstairs having lunch, and I was up there, and this deal was being presented to me, and all 4 doctors are hearing it. I mean, the other 3 doctors were hearing it. So when I was totally through with the job, it took me, like I said, a little over a year. So I called him up one day, and I told him, well, the job is totally done. So he said, all right, come in tomorrow at lunchtime. And so I went in the next day, and there's the 4 doctors, the 3 doctors, and Dr. Carl Howard. And so he said, well, let's take a walk around the building and see if everything's done first. So we did. We went all over the building, checked all the offices, all the restrooms, everything. Everything was pristine and clean, and everything looked great. And he was very, very, very happy with everything. And of course, he got a huge amount of money from his insurance, and that paid for the construction. And so that was it. So we went back up to his office, and the other 3 doctors are still up there having lunch and talking. So now there's 5 of us there again. And so I gave him all the paperwork. I had it in a folder, all my hours. And so I handed him all the paperwork on my hours. And he said, what is this? And I said, well, these are my hours on the job. And he said, well, what do I need that for? I said, well, you were going to pay me. And he said, no, I've already paid you. Didn't I pay you every week? And I said, yes, you paid me every week. Well, then why are you giving me a bill now? And I said, well, I thought the deal was that when the construction was over and the job was done, that you were going to pay me the difference. He said, I never said anything like that. I told you I would pay you. I paid you every week. I don't know you anything. I don't know what you're talking about. And I was stunned. I could not believe a doctor, and he was a high official in the Mormon Church, incidentally. Dr. Carl Howard, high official in the Mormon Church, a Mormon elder, etc., and well respected in the community. And now he's telling me in front of the other 3 doctors, and the 3 doctors looked at me and they looked at each other because they knew they were witnesses to what he said a year ago, and now they're hearing him saying that he never said such a thing at all. And the doctors, all 3 doctors, were looking at each other and looking at me, shaking their heads. As if to say they don't believe that he is actually saying this. And he said, I never said anything about paying you anything. I paid you. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't owe you nothing. So I said, all right, I'm not going to argue. I understand. I'll just go pick up my stuff. And so he said, I don't care what you do. I don't owe you nothing. So I walked out and went upstairs to the room that I had been working on and painted and put all the carpet in and put the shelves in and all of that. And I had brought all of my boxes of books and research materials and videos and documents and all, everything I owned and I brought it all over there into my room that I was going to get, and the room was locked up. And so I went downstairs and got the key and went back upstairs, unlocked my room that my stuff was in, and it's all gone. The room looks nice, but all my stuff is gone. All my boxes, all my videos, my computers, everything is gone. And I went downstairs and I said to the doctor, well, where's all my stuff that was in my room? And he says, what are you talking about, your room? I said, the room that you were going to give me, when I was through with the job. He said, I never said I was going to give you any room. And the doctors all sitting there having lunch looked at him again and shook their heads. They couldn't believe this man is saying something like this in front of 3 witnesses, in front of 3 other doctors who damn well sat there and heard the original deal. And now Dr. Carl Howard, a North Hollywood chiropractor, is now telling me, after working for him for 1 year, over 1 year, he's now saying, I don't owe you nothing. I didn't say I was going to give you anything, and you ain't got nothing, so get out the property. And so I was amazed. I went back up, and all my stuff was gone. And I said, what did you do with all my possessions? He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And besides, I've given this room, I gave this room, which was my room. He said, I gave this room to my mother. My mother liked this room. She liked the color of the carpet. She liked it. So I gave this to her. She has a travel agency that my mother has been working with, a travel agency. And so she took this room for herself for a travel agency. So it's not your room. It belongs to my mother. So I shook my head and I thought, they've ripped me off. I worked for a year like a dog, finishing it for Dr. Carl Howard, the chiropractor in North Hollywood, the big Mormon elder, important Mormon elder. And come to find out, he just lied to me and threw me out with nothing. And not only that, but all my stuff is gone. And I don't know where it's gone. And he says he doesn't know. Well, he had a nephew who was mentally challenged. And he kept him around to rake the lawns and sweep up at night. The kid was not all there. And so I was driving by a few days later by the office in North Hollywood, and I saw the kid out raking the lawn. So I stopped and I went up and asked him. I said, what happened to all of my possessions that were in the office upstairs? And he said, oh, we threw all of that in the garbage. We took it out to the garbage. And I said, don't you know that belongs to me? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, I asked Dr. Howard, why are we throwing Jordan Maxwell's possessions away? Why are we throwing it in the garbage? Why don't we call him and have him come pick it up? And he said, the doctor told me that you were working for the devil and that the church, that you might find out something evil about the church, and he didn't want the church to get in trouble because of your work, that you were involving, you're doing research on religions, and you might find out something about the Mormon church, and he's a Mormon elder. So he said that it would be better if we just threw all of your stuff in the garbage. You get rid of it because you're working for the devil. And he says, so I told the doctor, well, I don't think we should throw his stuff away. Him as mentally challenged as the kid was, at least he understood that much, that he didn't own my stuff. And he said, but the doctor said, no, let's throw it all away because he's working for the devil, and get rid of him. We'll get rid of him and get rid of his material. And there's nothing he can do about it. So I found out Dr. Carl Howard that lied to me. I had me work for him for minimum wage for a year and 1 month. Then told me he doesn't owe me nothing. then the office that he told me I was going to have that I worked on, he gave it to his mother so she could have a travel agency. And all of my possessions and all of my stuff that I had been saving and working with, he threw away in the garbage because he said I was working for the devil. He didn't mind me working for the devil as long as I was repairing and working on his office. But when I was totally through, now I'm working for the devil, and he takes all of my possessions and throws them in the trash and the garbage, and then lies to me and tells me, I don't know what happened to anything. I never gave you any office. I never said I was going to pay you anything. And so Dr. Carl Howard in North Hollywood on the corner of Riverside Drive in Vineland and a two-story white building called Colonial Building. You can go by there and compliment Dr. Carl Howard and his Mormon upbringing and his Mormon teachings that says it's all right to rip off an innocent man and take everything he owns and throw it in the garbage and lie to him and cheat him and leave him for dead with nothing. That's Dr. Carl Howard, the chiropractor in North Hollywood at the office on the corner of Riverside Drive and Vineland. So much for the Mormon elders and the Mormon religion. Dr. Carl Howard. That's just one more story in a long line of stories of things that people have done to me. And while I'm on the subject of doctors, there's another one I want to talk to you about. That's Dr. Joan Priestley, Joan Priestley. Dr. Joan Priestley was supposedly the great saintly Dr. Joan Priestley who had cured so many AIDS patients and done so many wonderful things to help the AIDS patients. And she was kind of a saint. She was thought to be a saint, Saint Joan Priestley. And Dr. Joan Priestley came to me one day in Burbank area, met me, and she said, I want to take you out to dinner. I want to talk with you. So I did. I went with her. I didn't know who she was, but she seemed like a nice lady. She's a lady doctor, wanted to go out to dinner with me. So I did. I went with her. We went to a Marie Callender's, which is on Riverside Drive in Toluca Lake, which is in Los Angeles. Dr. Joan Priestley presented me with an idea. She said, I just love everything you're doing. I just love all of your research work, and I follow it. And you've just been an inspiration to me and all of that. She said, I would love to help you do what you want to do. And she said, I'm independently wealthy and I'm retired. And I have, I'm independently wealthy at this time. And so I would just like to spend all my time now working with you and studying with you and helping you to do your work. And I said, well, I appreciate that. And that's very nice of you. And I'd like to help. I'd like to have somebody help me for a change. And so she said, well, what I want to do is this. She says, I'll get you in a little office. We got a little office. I think it was like $400 a month for a little Mickey Mouse office in Burbank. And I got it painted, and I brought in all of my stuff again after I had been ripped off and everything was thrown away by Dr. Carl Howard. I got books back. I got some tapes remade and got stuff, whatever I could replace. I tried to replace with nothing. I don't have a job. And so I replaced as much as I could. And now Dr. Joan Priestley was going to help me get back on my feet. And I was broke and had nothing. So she paid for it in a little office. It was very cheap. I think it was about $400 a month. And I painted it. I had my friend of mine come help me. We painted the office and put in some little furniture and whatever. And now I'm going to have an office finally. And I had some books and tapes and things that I had been able to replace. And so I was kind of rebuilding myself after this other doctor ripped me off. And so one day she was in the office. I gave her a key, so she used to come in anytime she wanted. She was my friend, and she was paying for the office. So I gave her a key so she could come in and read all my documents and read all my research and do whatever she wanted. So one day she comes in and she says, I have a piece of property. This is Dr. Joan Priestley. And she said, I have a piece of property in Florida, in the Florida Keys. I think it was in Key West. And that's a very expensive area in Florida. Wealthy people live there. And she said, I have a home in Key West that I've been trying to sell for many years, but it's too expensive and nobody wants to touch it. I think it was, she said it was like $4 to $5 million home. And she said, it's just too expensive and it's just not selling. Nobody's buying. And she said, I have said, if I could sell that property, she tells me, she says, if I could sell that property and get the cash, she said, I would donate that money to you and I doing your work. I will put it into a special account and put your name on the account so that you can draw money anytime you need for anything you want to do. And you and I will have plenty enough money to do whatever you want to do. And if you need to travel somewhere, we'll have the money to travel. We'll have the money to print your books and do anything you want to do. If I could just, she said, because I'm independently wealthy now, I could do it. But if I could sell that property, I would put that money separate from what I already have into an account that would set you up for life. You'd have the bank book, and I would too, and we could draw from it anytime you want and pay for anything you need. And I told her I thought that was very generous of her. She said, well, if I could do it, if I could sell that property, that's what I would do. So I talk to the Spirit because I do that often. I talk to God, so to speak. I talk very quietly to the Spirit that I am totally convinced that there is a God, and I talk to the Spirit, and I ask the Spirit to let her sell her property so that it would give me the backing that I need. And what happened was, about 2 weeks later, Dr. Joan Priestley called me, and she said she had to tell me something, and we had to go out. So we went out to dinner, and she said, you're not going to believe this, but I got a phone call from my realtor in Key West, and the house sold for cash. Somebody walked in and didn't even want to finance it. They wanted to buy it out cash. And I didn't have to dicker with the price. He paid the price, bought the house, the money came in, and then she said, and I can't believe after all these years I've been trying to sell the house, and I talked to you, and 2 weeks later the house is sold. And I thought, wow, in 2 weeks the house is sold for cash. So she said, so let's talk tomorrow. And so we had dinner, and we were going to celebrate the next day. So the next day she comes over in the afternoon, late afternoon, and she's got a whole new contract. We had a little agreement, a contract. And so she comes over, and she said, I have something I need for you to sign. And I said, what is it? She said, I got a new contract. And, I want you to read it and sign the new contract. And I said, why do I need a new contract? And she said, because I cannot continue to work with you or do anything unless you sign this new contract. I'm not going to go any further with you until you sign this new contract. So sit down and read it and sign it, and then we can get on with what you want to do. And it was about a 5-page with super fine writing, so much in it, but the basics of the contract was very simple. That she owns everything, owns the copyright and trademark on everything I have ever done, am doing now, and ever will do in perpetuity forever. She will own everything. My name, my products, my videos, she will own all of it. And I will work for her and get something like $300 a week. That's $1,200 a month as her employee. And she will own it all. Dr. Joan Priestley, the AIDS doctor, Saint Joan Priestley. So I told her, I said, Joan, I can't sign this, giving you everything I have ever worked for. I thought you said that if you got your house sold in Florida, you were going to set up an account, you told me. She said, no. Now that the house is sold, I got a new deal. That other deal is off. The new deal is I'm the boss. I call the shots. I've got the money. Money talks, bullshit walks. Now, you want the money? Do you want the backing, or don't you? And I said, well, not at this expense. I thought you told me. And she said, I don't care what I told you. What I'm telling you now is that if sign the new contract or we're through. So I said, well, I don't want to sign this new contract that gives you everything after you've lied to me and told me if you sold the property, and now you're telling me you're not giving me nothing and I got to sign over everything to you. I don't want to do that. I'm not interested to do that. I'll take my stuff and go home. So I was invited the following week. I was supposed to go to Colorado Springs to speak at a conference for Timothy Beckley Green. Timothy Green, wonderful guy, used to put on a lot of big UFO conferences. Well, he had a big conference going on the following week in Colorado Springs, and I was speaking there. So I left for Colorado Springs, and when I came back at the end of the event, I came back to Los Angeles, and I drove by my office just to drop off my briefcase and some stuff I have with me. And when I walked into the building, down at the end of the hall was my office, my door was wide open, and there was a light on in my office. And this was about 1 o'clock in the morning. So my heart was in my throat because the building was a commercial building, locked up. I had a key to the commercial building. And on this floor, second floor, where my office door was wide open and a light on. And there's nobody around. And I knew the moment I saw it, something terrible has happened. And so I rushed down the hall to my office, and there, everything in my office was gone. Everything. All my pictures, my videos, all the stuff that I've been able to find again and buy and get all my masters redone and all my books and all my research materials, everything but the carpet and the air conditioner were the only two things left in the office. Everything, my mother's pictures, everything I owned in the world is gone. And there's a note on the wall, scotch tape to the wall saying, "Screw you, you're out of business, Dr. Joan Priestley." So I went there and I called the police immediately, and they came up and they looked around and they said, "Well, she didn't break into the office." I said, "No, she had a key." And they said, "Well, I'm sorry, but if you gave her a key, that's a civil matter now. You can go sue her if you want and all that, but there's nothing we can do. You gave her a key. She had a right to use the key. So if she used the key to take everything and steal everything you own, that's your problem, not her. So you need to sue her in court, but there's nothing we can do. She didn't break and enter." So I went to one of my lawyer friends, and he said, "This is horrible what she did." He said, she could be disbarred and she could lose her license as a doctor doing something like this, stealing everything you own." And the people next door to me the next day in the commercial building, they said to me, "We wondered why the doctor was here with a bunch of people in a big moving van, and they were moving all the furniture and everything that you just moved in." They said, "We wondered why you just got the place fixed up and painted and new carpet, and you just moved in, and now she's moving everything out. And we wondered, we asked her where you are. And she said you had to be out of town and that you asked her to move everything out for you." No, I was in Colorado Springs speaking at a conference. I had no idea she was taking everything I own, and then left a message on the wall, a sticker on the wall saying, "Screw you, you're out of business. Signed, Dr. Joan Priestley." So Dr. Joan Priestley, the thief, the lying piece of crap, who swore to me, "Oh, if I could sell that $5 million home, I would set up an account and boy, you would have all the money you need." She's a liar. I got nothing. She sold the house and then told me, "I got a new deal. The new deal is you work for me, chump. And if you don't work for me and you don't sign this contract, I take everything." So she took everything I owned, everything, all my personal possessions, my clothes, my jacket, my books, my videos, everything I owned in the world. She took everything and left me for broke, for nothing, left me for dead. I had to go home realizing everything is gone again. One doctor after the next. I trust people to help me. Every time I do, Dr. Joan Priestley rips me off, lies to me, steals everything I've got, and leaves me for dead, and takes her $5 million she made from the sale of that house 2 weeks after she told me what she did. Dr. Joan Priestley, the AIDS doctor. What a piece of crap she is. A thief and a liar. And the last time I heard, that thief, that pimp was living up in Alaska somewhere. I hope on the other side, when she leaves this world, that God will deal with her and karmic deal with her for what she did to me, lied to me, stole everything I owned, and left me for dead because I would not sign a contract which gave her everything I've worked for my whole life for $250 a week. Dr. Joan Priestley and Dr. Carl Howard. So that's just two more incidents in my life that I would like for the world to know about. Doctors and people who are coming in to help me, and all these wonderful people who are going to do so much for me. And then when they tell me to get off your lazy ass and get out there on the radio and start making me some money, and when I'm offended at 70 years old at people talking to me like that, I decide I'm not going to do anything. Then they say, well, look at, see, there's Jordan Maxwell. He's worthless. He's not doing nothing. We wanted this chump, this old man, to make us a lot of money. And we were expecting this old man to get out there off his lazy ass and make us a lot of money. And now that he is getting chicken shit about it, he's not going out, he's not going to do anything, and he's not going to do any radio. He's not going to do anything. Now we will tell the world, see, don't have nothing to do with Jordan Maxwell because he's undependable and he's not going to do anything. So that's just two more events in my life that brings me to be the kind of person I am today. I've got about 14 more cases I want to talk about, but that's the latest two. Now we can move on, because I figure each time I do a radio show from now on, I'm going to talk about two people until I cover all the bases of all the charlatans and liars and thugs and pimps and thieves that I have unfortunately had to be thrown in with and be a party to by people who are criminals, liars, thieves, gypsies, white trash, trailer trash, and thugs. And I have to depend on other people to help me do my work, and all I get is this kind of criminality in my life. So I just like for the world, because at this point at 73, I don't even care what anybody thinks of me anymore. I just want to tell the people the kind of life I have had to live, doing the kind of work that I have had to do. I've done my work the best I could in spite of all of the treasonous lying, thievery, criminality by Dr. Carl Howard, by Dr. Joan Priestley, by all these doctors and all these other people. I mean, I've got a whole list I want to go through. I just want the public to hear some of the crap I've had to live through doing what I do, because I am dealing with a dark force. I'm dealing with the demonic. I'm dealing with the dark side of the human race. And because I'm dealing with the dark side, like the Apostle Paul says in the book of Acts, we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and darkness in high places. That's what Jordan Maxwell is doing. I'm doing battle with a dark world of evil, demonic depravity, and I'm trying to enlighten my fellow man. And there's a very dark, demonic system that does not want me doing what I do. So it brings in and makes sure that anyone who comes in to help me will be a thief, a criminal, a murderer, all kinds of criminality, liars and thieves. That's what I've had to deal with all of my life. It's only until now that I have two friends that have been my friends and doing things for me. And my co-host on this program is one of the 3 or 4 people that have really been my friends over the years and has never asked anything from me, but they wanted to help me. But all the people who have said they want to help me and they have the money to do it, and they want to come in to do this and do that, every single time it was what they wanted to do was to own Jordan Maxwell. They want to own his work. They want to own him, own his voice. And so they can't do anything. They're too stupid. They're too ignorant and too corrupt and dirty and evil to do anything of any value. But at least they got the money. So therefore, they can't do anything. The Dr. Joan Priestleys and Dr. Carl Howards and the John Rappaports and the and the Bonnie Langs and all these other criminals and liars and gypsies, tramps, and thieves, they can't do and become and be anybody. They're nothing but what they are, criminals and white trash. But they can possibly redeem themselves by owning Jordan Maxwell. By jumping in to be a partner with Jordan Maxwell, we can own this dope. We can own this old man who is trusting and trust his friends and trust people to help him. We can go in and con this old man, rip him off, use him to make us a lot of money. And if he doesn't dance to our tune, then we will rot and we will destroy his name, destroy his work. So I'm up against a demonic depravity. And that's what I've been dealing with for the past 35 years of my work. So when people think of me as some major celebrity, I own nothing. I have nothing. And I invite Dr. Joan Priestley and Dr. Carl Howard, the chiropractor from North Hollywood. I invite all of those people, just try and sue me. Just try it. Bring it on. I can't wait. I've had enough of these thieves, liars, hypocrites, and murderers. I am sick and tired of the dirty, filthy people that I've been around, and it's time to expose all of them. I've had enough of them. So that's my feeling about Dr. Joan Priestley and Dr. Carl Howard. Now, well, let's get on to something that we can talk about that's a little bit more important. And that is what we talked about last night. I find that it is very, very difficult doing what I do because I am continually attacked with ad hominem attacks on my person, my name, and my work. But one day, somewhere, something is going to happen to free me so I can do my work. At this point, I can't do anything. I don't own anything. I don't have anything. I don't have a place to live. I got nothing. But I really believe one day my God will give me the opportunity to actually finish what I came here to do. And that is to expose the flying crap out of religion, government, banking, commerce, the entire superstructure of Western civilization with its corrupt, filthy, degenerate lies, pornography, drug addiction, drive-by killings, gang wars, motorcycle gangs. All of this crap, human crap, is coming to an end. The world empire of Rome is collapsing. America is in her last and final hours of life. The whole world of mankind is in trouble, and the greatest nation on the earth is going first. America is in serious trouble. There is nothing of any redeemable value in her anywhere, period. And especially is that true in religion. In her religions that is practiced in America, there is not one iota of anything of redeemable value in any religion in America today, period. It's all corporations, money, maritime admiralty law, corporation souls, selling of children, raping, plundering, lies, banking. The whole world is lying in the power of the wicked one. That's what the Bible says. I'm totally convinced that there's something to that. The entire superstructure of Western civilization is in the hands of a dark, demonic depravity that is now destroying everything of any decency, anything holy, anything righteous is being destroyed. Our children are being raped and destroyed, lied to. Our adults their jobs are being sent out of the country. The people are so ignorant, they dance in the street for people who are communists, Nazis, fascists. The world has lost its mind, and I am telling you that very soon the Divine One is going to bring about a retribution on this country. You have not even begun to appreciate what's coming. The people are waiting and dancing in the streets for Obama and for George Bush and for all the other Nazis, fascists, Marxist, Leninist, Bolshevik, communists who have destroyed our country, destroyed our people, destroyed our institutions, polluted our water, polluted our air, poisoned our food, poisoned our minds, and now are prepared to drive our great country into the ocean of debt, immorality, lies, and deception, and the people are too dumb and ignorant to know what's going on. Thank you. This is Jordan Maxwell.